and welcome to the 1%ers Performance Podcast, coming to you from Combermary and Gadigal country in Australia. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the First Nations people of these lands. This is the podcast exploring how small changes make a big impact. I'm Mario Buchs, and together with my co-host Tim Buxton, we'll discover the unseen edges of peak performance to help athletes, teams and leaders unlock their exponential growth. And now, it's time to dive in and find the 1% that changes everything.
Alrighty, Mario, how's it going, mate? We are 2 weeks out from your Coast to Kosci finish, number 2. How's the body feeling?
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, pretty good, actually. I recovered very quick. I was amazed how well this whole recovery has gone. I just let the body do its thing. And yeah, no, it's been good. I touch wood. Very, very lucky. All those little 1%ers we whack in. Sorry, we need to use this pun, every day.
Yeah.
Leading up to it and during the race and after the race, just looking after the little things, very important, yeah. And I got some help from people, we're, talking to our common mutual friend, Alessia Oreb. What are we going to do with these feet? We had a couple of blisters, so she gave me some hints and tips. So I did my foot spas with magnesium salts and stuff like that just to get them. And just other stuff, ice baths and sauna and the usual. And good food is always important. A good glass of red wine, I always think, is good and has its place in recovery.
Oh, mate. Well, look, I thought you were going to, like, the day after the run, I thought you were going to come out on a 10K run with me and Adam, who was always also down there crewing. You didn't feel like you'd missed a beat, mate. It was impressive. And I want us to get into, like, what like this event again, Coast to Kosci. It's an iconic Australian ultra trail running event. I've been running for like 20 odd years now, correct? And it attracts a special. It's invite only. There were 68, I think, almost 70 runners this year, and a lot of people get invited back to do it again. It is 240 kilometers from the ocean, from Eden in New South Wales, all the way to Australia's highest point in Mount Kosciuszko National Park, at the peak there at Mount Kosciuszko. And you're running nonstop. I think on your run, you took a nap for 10 minutes. And it was well and truly 28 hours maybe into your run, or even more. And it was just remarkable to see the human body, to watch up close, being able to crew with you, pace you for, I think almost 70 kilometers I got to run alongside you. So I got to witness up close what the human body can do. And not just you, all the other runners and teams that you'd kind of pass and interact with along the way. It is an incredible experience, an incredible event. Hats off to the race directors. I think Greg and is it Lisa?
No, Mickey. Greg and
Mickey, that's right. Greg and Mickey, phenomenal job. And just the way that this community comes together, phenomenal. But let's take people inside this kind of experience that you had. This was the second time you've done it. First time you got a inclement weather finish, so you didn't get to summit to the top. You get to Charlotte's Pass, which is the end of the road, basically, and you got a summit. You got 18 kilometers or 19 kilometers left to get up and back. It's wild up there once you get into the open landscape up there as you're summiting. But this time you got to finish, and it wasn't necessarily guaranteed. There was a lot of drama around it. But bring us back to this run for you. Can you sum up what it felt like? Were there any particular moments on this journey that kind of stand out to you from this run in particular, Mario? I'd love to hear.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I was just laughing because when you said summiting in wild weather, and I saw you up there and you had the best of times. So that's why I was laughing. It makes me so happy to you were calling your family and showing them the snow. And yeah, it's like, I'm very emotional for that stuff because that means a lot to me, that you and Adam and Dave got to summit with me. That for me was the best thing, really. It's, that means a lot. Yeah, second time, Yeah, of course, the focus was after my injury last year to get prepared again and be even able to apply. So I had to do my qualifications again. So I had to run another 100K and a 100 miler. And I decided, we spoke about the elephant miler. I decided to do something a little bit hard. That takes me roughly the same time um, on feet than that I would also have when I would get into coast to coast, if that makes sense. So pretty much around the same time, right? 37, so 20 minutes difference. So the choice of going to Elephant Mile to use that as a qualifier and a test for nutrition and my stubbornness and all that kind of stuff that comes in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? We knew the weather was going to be better than 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, the weather was kind of rough all day. We had a lot of weather or a lot of water falling from the sky. So we had a lot of creek crossings. There's one big turnaround that we had to do. So Toowoomba, the school, we had to turn around and go back up. And then we had to spend an hour in the car driving to the next point. And then we had a trail. So there was two different courses, really. So we had to go up a cowbay 2023, where now we're back on the official course where we had to go up Big Jack, which is about 52, 55 kilometers in. So starting at Twofold Bay in Eden, beautiful
The Big
sunrise.
Jack is like a big steep
Yeah, it's
hill
about
that you kind of
7,
have to.
correct. You just hike it up. Yeah. Some might run it. I don't know. I've never seen anybody run it. Even last year when I was like, Kai and I were walking and we were second place overall at the top. So no one was running. We were all hiking it. Maybe the guy at the front, he was running it. But we yeah, so Big Jack is just a long hike, and there you have to have a pacer, so it's mandatory because it's a narrow fire trail, and obviously cars are not allowed to stop. So this is where you carry all your food and water that you need for that 1 hour and 10 or 1 hour and 30 minutes, whatever it takes you to get up there. So you took my poles and Dave, and he had some water, and I had my little pack, and off we went. And then at the top, I had a good feed, and then it's pretty much a little bit of a rolling downhill. So that's pretty much where I think the race starts. You get to Big Jack, hike it up. You run through Toowoomba, which is beautiful. So there was now 68 cars plus the directors. So that was beautiful to see. So you run through this little village and you had all these cars and everybody cheering. And that was quite nice, knowing that that's probably the last time you see so many humans in one place, other than Sunday morning when we all go for breakfast. But the crew that started with me, they were able to get breakfast there, and I think overall they raised $4,000 for the school, which is beautiful. Yeah. So again, just a good event. But back to the start, beautiful ceremony, Aboriginal, owners of the land, very respectful, the usual fire, and then the sun was rising at 5:30, and it was just, fantastic. So
you told me, I remember you said you wanted to go touch the water, and as you went and touched the water, what happened?
Yeah, so I got flooded, so my shoes were wet, so I didn't tell anybody.
You started the 240-kilometer race on the beach with wet, soggy shoes, and
it was a dry day, yeah. So they soon dried, so it wasn't. Yeah, I just thought it was a good omen. Just touch the water, because then we knew there was going to be snow at the top, which we then also touched. So I just thought
exactly
within a 30-something hour period, we're going to touch the water, and powered by my own body, I will then go and touch snow. So that for me was a little bit mystical. I thought, let's do it, because everybody was lining up for the start. And I just took that moment, and I was on my own on the beach, watched the sun, and just had a little few seconds meditation and visualization for myself, and just being grateful that my body got me there, being grateful to be allowed to start, grateful for all the guys who came out for me. Sue, my wife, my friends, you guys were on the way already by that time, or you were on the way flying to Sydney and stuff. So I was just full of gratitude. I thought, hey, what better way to start than just touch the water? And as I wanted to touch the water, there was a little mini wave came through, and I couldn't get out of the way. So my shoes got flooded. That didn't put me off. 2 years ago, I ran 37 hours 35 hours, in wet shoes. So it doesn't matter. All good.
One of the things you mentioned was you visualized, and I remember you saying you visualized finishing strong, and we'll get to that at the end. You visualize, but I think it's important to have, thinking through the process of what, you do, pairing and going through these incredible events, because, they're an experience. It's a journey that you're about to go on. as we'll find out, there's lots of highs, there's lows. You never know when you're going to need to come up with a challenge or an unexpected setback that you're going to have to troubleshoot and work through. What was one of those first moments on the race where you're like, okay, I need to kind of go to my tool bag and tweak things up, because you were very well prepared. I mean, let's picture this. You've got this beautiful, picture like a high ace kind of minivan with at the back there's drawers filled with all different kinds of medical supplies and nutrition trays and meals, a couple of different eskies with different purposes. Obviously, everyone had all their gear and stuff that they were carrying with them in the truck, in the van as well. But very well organized setup with chairs so that when you need to take a break or need to kind of adjust something or sit down for a meal to eat again, you could easily set this thing up in plenty good time. So you've got this well-oiled machine, you've got everything planned out, you've got spreadsheets with what meal needs to be ready at what time and stage of the race. But not everything goes perfectly to plan, and nor do you expect it to. You just have to have a plan to start with. Can you think of a point in time when you're like, hang on, let's mix things up, or this is what I need, this is what we're going to have to do now?
Something really simple, actually. I plan to have a wrap every 5 hours, so it's just something that I really like. I like wraps, so I like my wraps and hummus
Mm,
and that's my main lunch. Usually a salad and a wrap with something in it, and with falafel. And the first one I took after 5 hours, because the good thing is when you're ready, your first few hours do pass pretty well, but it did get warm-ish, not hot. So last year was a
mm,
lot hotter, but it got warm, and that first one I had to really fight to get it down. So there was my first mental note where I said, yeah, I might need to just let the guys know this might not be what I need every 5 hours. We might need to, go to something a little bit easier, like oranges or bananas or whatever there was. But that's okay, because we made them up prior, or Sue made them up prior, and Dave had the great idea. So crew chief Dave, he just heated them up on the engine. They were in
yeah,
alufoil. Clever idea, So I think after about probably 6, 7 hours, yeah, it was before Big Jack. I knew a few of the runners in the field, and I knew I should not be ahead of some people, which I wasn't, which was good. But I wasn't able to stick with 2 or 3 guys that I thought I should stick with in the beginning. That would give me just a good pace. It didn't worry me at all, but I was already thinking, okay, what am I going to feel like in 12 hours? So that was a bit the start where I'm like, okay, let's just conserve some energy. This time I also decided to use my heart rate as a gauge. And the heart rate was really high in the beginning, which was weird. But I just put that down to adrenaline and excitement. So when I say in the beginning in a race like that, the beginning is several hours, not the first 5 minutes, right?
yeah,
So as soon as I pushed a little bit, it went a little bit higher than it should. So I'm like, okay, let's just stay behind. Then obviously I had to let a few guys go, but some people stop longer than others. So there's always these guys who stop like every 30 minutes for like 2 or 3 minutes. But my plan was just to walk through. So I didn't really take notice of the van. For me, that van doesn't even exist until I really need it. And I need to sit down, which was rare, but I did use it, that chair. So yeah, you just work through things. You get rid of Big Jack. You start running there. I felt really good. And then you come to it's a village called Cathcart. So that's pretty much the last time people can get any supplies other than Jindabyne a lot later in the race.
yeah,
So I think the guys took advantage of the shop. There's a little shop there. In hot years, they run out of ice. So the top crews get there first and get some ice and a cold Coke and an icicle or something like that. So, and then there's a road running out of Cathcart, and I remember that's tough because it's pretty straight, and like I said, it got a little bit warmer, so I already started cooling down. We went with ice bandana immediately because that was the plan. Like you said, have a plan until you don't have one. But luckily, we were able to stick to it for the whole duration of the race. So get the Legionnaire's hat on, cool that down with water and stuff, and just stay cool, And I was wearing the arm sleeves from the beginning until we changed into a different shirt much later in the race.
yeah.
So these arm sleeves were great. So they were cooling me in the heat, and they were keeping me warm when it got a little bit
Shout
cooler.
out to Spalms
Absolutely,
on that one.
Spalms, and then the Legionnaires hat from Fractel. So
Fractal.
yes, we took advantage of all the goodies what we learned in Iraq. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So yeah,
I joined into you at about 100 kilometers in, which is the first point in which you, well, at that point, we knew we'd be able to kind of take on board and replace your wife and some of the other crew members who had got you to that, the 100K mark. I think it's the Dead Tree.
that tree is 102. Correct. Yeah.
Dead Tree 102. So that's when I got to see you. You were pretty strong. Things were going to plan. I think shout out to people on teams, crews on teams like Dave. Like these are the analytical guys, the people that don't miss a beat, very detailed. Because the first bit, you're pretty like you can make a lot of decisions. You're pretty lucid. I would say you are very lucid the whole time, but there comes a point in time when you need to make sure the crew aren't distracted in any point in time, that they're really paying close attention to your needs and are ready to respond immediately. Because as I experienced in Iraq, when you don't have often a lot of time for things to go south quickly and you need to quickly respond, whether it be making sure you have hydration when you need it, making sure if you're chafing and you need to stay on top of it because you don't want a blister to form or something could be happening. Those kinds of little things. I remember we stopped at one point to check to see if there was a pebble in your foot. And, we literally took your shoe off twice because you were feeling something, because you knew if you continued with that that could be really a huge problem later on. And so, again, staying on top of lots of these little things. And guys like Dave, phenomenal attention to detail, can sometimes be a bit too strict at times. When you've got lots of people moving around, you need someone and something to keep things going and staying on top of those things. And so huge shout out to Dave and all those crew people. And I would say anybody that's putting together a crew, make sure you've got someone that likes to have attention to detail, that will not kind of be too tempted to kind of just go with the flow a bit too much. I mean, they have a role on the team. You had me and Adam jumping in mainly to help you run and pace and support you during different moments of that race, that event. So we jumped in at the 102 kilometer mark. Things were starting to get dark. It was starting to get really cold. As the sun was setting, the wind and the cold kind of sets in, and you're heading into night one. How's I thought, from my perspective, getting to, what was that hall again at the middle of the night? Dalgety, getting into Dalgety, there was pretty little to report. You were talking about wanting to maybe take a nap at some point after that. That was the plan, that you might have a bit of a nap, but that never happened. Talk through that section of the race.
Yeah, so 102 is the tree. We need to do a mandatory picture. 108 is the checkpoint 4 where you're allowed to come on. So that's where you came on. The changeover happened. Like you said, Sue and the gang went to the Airbnb in Jindabyne, and then you guys hopped in, you and Adam. Great vibe, great vibe. It was good. It was like, yep, there's some energy. There's these Energizer bunnies are coming, and for Dave, it was great. Dave then knew, okay, great. I don't need to focus too much on the running part. That's covered, because he's done a hell of a lot of running in the last 2 years. For me and Kai last year, for him, it was great to just say, okay, this is how we operate. And you're absolutely right. One guy has to make the last decision, and he's responsible for that runner. If you've got 4 people with 8 hands trying to feed you something, there has to be that one guy who is just over the top strict, which is exactly what you need to be in that position. Because this is like a project at work. It's not about your own ego and your boss's ego and everybody else's ego. This is about getting that project, which this run is. It's a project, to the finish line or to the end of the project. And that doesn't matter who does what. Everybody chips in, but someone has to be the lead, right? This is why you choose a crew chief. Yeah, so we went into the night. I just wanted to mention that, it's important, and to underline what you said. For me, it's important, or it's good to know that you've immediately noticed that there is this dynamic where there is someone who knows what's going on. And he's crewed me in every race anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the night section I actually like, because it's just so serene, and the environment, and It's just you're running through a beautiful part, and I think we didn't have a lot of cloud cover, so that we did see some stars, especially you and I.
It was
We had some good
magical.
conversations. It just put us into a good frame. And yeah, it's just one foot in front of the other. Run as much as you can. I wanted to run more than last time, which I achieved. My quads were working really well. My legs were really good. Yeah, you're right. Some of the things kind of. So you actually hit the road. So at 108, it's road from there on in until Charlotte Pass, where you go back on gravel. So you've got 100 and something kilometers of road running after you've done all the
Mm,
gravel bit. And the camber gets a little bit easier to run on as well, because on that gravel, the camber is pretty. So your hips get a beating, especially the left hip, because it's always like on the up and shorter. And that's also
yeah,
the shoe, and that's also where all my hot spots were, and where I thought I had something in there, and probably I didn't, but there was a hot spot coming, and I do attack it. Yeah, pretty smooth sailing. I just wanted to make sure you guys got fed in Dalgety. Apparently this year they had 4 different types of soups, which is fantastic. The
it
last
was
time I was
good. The bread rolls were amazing. I think I
awesome,
ate 4 and took another 3 on the road with me.
perfect.
So
That's what that
if they ran
Dalgety
out of
is.
bread rolls, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
It's yeah, it's so important that the crews get fed in there. I mean,
And,
I went to the hole because I needed the toilet. They do tell you as runner, don't go in there because there's a couch and it's comfy and it's warm. But this is 2 times I've done it now, and it's not a problem because mentally I was in a good spot. That I just
and I
love it. So
there were some people that were favorites to take out the win. I remember seeing in that Dalgety Hall in a deep dark place. They were in the hurt locker, and it's one of those things, right? 'Cause this is the humbling thing about it is no matter how good you might be, no matter what, your track record might be, you can get taken out easily in one of these long endurance runs, and you can never take anything for granted. And I think it says something to your commitment to kind of having a plan, having a well thought out plan, still being open to kind of tweak things. But one of the things you said is, I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to sit down. I'm not going to rest. I'm going in. I'm going to use the bathroom, and I'm out. And then I just keep going. And hands down, your number one mantra I've learned is just keep moving. The minute you're stopping for no reason, unless you're stopping because you need to use the bathroom, stopping because you need to get some nutrition in, stopping because you need to change your shoes. Unless there's a reason, stopping just to take a rest or a break is not an option for you. Unless it's stopping to take an intentional nap, and we can come to that in a minute. It's stopping to just start getting the mind thinking, what am I doing whilst you're not making progress is the worst thing you can be doing. Talk a bit about that.
I mean, that's something I had to learn. So this is not something that gets thrown at you and you have that, right? Because often you go into these aid stations, and I mean, let's call them aid stations in a different event, and it's nice, and you talk to people, and there's a chair, and you think, oh, I'll just take my time. But over time, I learned that hold on, I can eat while I walk, right? When I'm walking, I'm going in the right direction and I'm eating. So I'm doing 2 good things, and I'm not resting. Or I am actually resting on the go. That means I'm just giving my legs a break. I'm changing my rhythm a little bit. So I'm not running. And then within 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, the food, I need to just make sure it's digested, and then we're good to go. But you're absolutely right. But that's something I had to teach myself. It is so easy to sit down and feel sorry for yourself and think about the number of, let's take Dalgety, you're 148 Ks into a race. That's still 90 Ks away, the finish line. So how sorry can you feel? I'm not saying people who go in there feel sorry for themselves. I'm only speaking to myself. So please, dear audience, don't misunderstand. I don't know how other people, what they go through. They have their own demons, but you're right.
And you might go to that place, like no one runs
I've
the
done it.
perfect
Yeah,
race.
of course.
But what you're saying is, I think, is the importance of just making progress. If you're making progress, even if it's little bit, the minute you kind of stop and just, the chances are you'll get stuck. And how do you make sure you limit getting stuck is just, well, let's just keep moving the legs. I'm awake, so we'll keep moving legs. Unless I'm going to take a nap and intentionally wake up and set an alarm and get up and go again. Obviously don't, it's like hitting the snooze. You don't set an alarm with the intention of hitting a snooze. You set the alarm knowing you're going to wake up, and there's no negotiation in that moment, because if you negotiated with yourself, you'd always choose to go back to comfort zone La La Land. So really important. Delgety, you keep moving, you push through the night, you don't end up taking that nap. And then we get to, we kind of making progress into Jindabyne. You're feeling strong. We get to what they call the yellow
line, or I just call it
line.
the yellow line.
The yellow line, which is really essentially now begins the ascent up Mount Kosciuszko. You've got what, another 50, 60 kilometers to go. So there's still a fair way to go, but this is the last third, right? How are we feeling? How did we track through into that?
Yeah. The part I don't like at all at Coastal Kosci, and I repeat myself because people know this, is coming out of Chindaba in the campground and coming onto that road, because you should be running really fast. But I never, ever, even when we have training runs up that way, I know I've run Dalgety to, not quite to Perisher, but to the entrance in training, and when we do training camps up there. And it's very hard. You run through this campsite, and I have to say, I was quite happy running through there, feeling strong. And then you come out of there, and I'm like, it was good. I saw Sue again, because that was the first time I saw her again, because she came back on board at that at that checkpoint. And I'm like, yes, now I need to go, but it's just not, yeah. And it's a long way, because until you then really start going up, because it's still white, the line, and then it goes yellow after the bridge. So there's that downhill, which we ran. That's when we changed the shoes, where I then made the decision, that's it. I need to change something. Although I went from the same shoe to the newer model, not even a newer model, just a newer pair of shoes. It was the same shoe, new sock, and we lubed up again. There was 2 blisters happening. I know one didn't hurt, the other one was a little bit getting cranky. We've also found out now why that was. So because I'm a little bit analytical when races, nothing ever goes perfect. But in every race, I want to make sure whatever I went through, I want to know why that happened. So we've analyzed that my 2 big toes aren't doing the full motion, range of motion during my running gait. So Alessia was able to see this through just by the pictures. Amazing. I mean, amazing. That's a podiatrist for you, who knows her stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it's true. So she's giving me some exercises to do and things like that. So yeah, very interesting. And also maybe because your feet get really warm in that race because you're pounding the pavement. And if your shoes just sit snug, that's fine. But over time, it could be that your toes are just touching and overlapping slightly. I mean, how many steps do you do over 240 Ks? God knows, 200,000 steps. I don't know, I'm just guessing. Oh, yeah. So, or 180,000 or more, 250,000 steps probably. Yeah. So I think, yeah. And then it's just the grind. It's just the grind up. Run what you can and hike as fast as you can with a purpose, with those bloody poles. And yeah.
And make sure we keep this, PG rated. There was a moment though where you had to go for the Sudocrem, right? You were in desperate need of a little ointment and soothing of chafing parts
after Belocca. So Belocca is the 100-mile mark, 162, and then you hike up 3K. So there you need another mandatory pace, although I already had paces, of course. But Dave got me up. Yeah, it was just uncomfortable, and I came up with this great idea that I actually had Sudocrem somewhere, and what's good for babies' bottoms can't be bad for mine. So off we went. So yeah, we'll.
And again,
just a decision I had to make,
a small thing, but if you don't address things when they come up, as humbling as it is, putting your finger in some Sudocrem and putting it in places that on the side of the road that most people wouldn't want to be seen in public doing, but you got that done, and you said suddenly it just took it out of your mind. It was problem averted, problem solved. You could then spend your time and energy focusing on making sure, again, your nutrition and all the other things that you needed to maintain. You drank about 12 liters of water, 6 liters of water, 6 liters of infinite mixture that you had, plus extra water. And there was, I remember running with you, and you were very calculated. I want the water now. Now I want the infinite mixture, which is just an electrolyte mixture, specialized that you've kind of customized for your needs as well. At those constantly making sure, even when you're not feeling it, you're preempting, I'm going to need these for the next little bit. And I'm the kind of guy that just, when I think I need it, then I put it in. It's usually I've gone beyond my what I should have, and now I'm trying to replace and get stuff in. But it takes a long time for your body to metabolize and start using that, and so you're still kind of going into deficit until that kicks in. You stayed on top of that. Let's get to the point where you're like, okay, we're marching up the yellow line. You're killing it. And you're like, you know what? We're getting close to summit zone. I'm losing some energy here and I'm starting to get tired and sleepy. I need to take a nap. You made the decision. And I remember saying to you, mate, I bet you if you just take your 10 minutes, you'll go from 20% to 50% of energy of your battery, basically, levels. And I remember you were kind of like, well, I don't know, I'm going to get 50%, but at least let's just take 10 minutes. Let's talk through that experience, because I thought it was quite interesting how your body responded to that.
Yeah, all day and all night. I was thinking always 12 hours ahead. That's the trick, with Gary, my coach, Gary Mullins. We discussed this. Whatever you do now, you need to be mindful. Where are you in 12 hours? And that moment in time, you're right. I didn't see myself summiting from a safety perspective, because what I wanted to do is summit myself, not people having to pick me up on the side of the road and drag me up on that to Mount Kosciuszko, knowing there's
You
snow up
wanted to
there.
finish strong. You visualized yourself finishing
Absolutely.
strong.
And I couldn't see that there, right? Going up and running back down and all this kind of stuff. Knowing there's snow and ice up there because they mentioned it in the race briefing the night before. So I'm like, okay, or 2 nights before. So yeah, you and I, we were running together or hiking together at that moment. We got in the car. You set the alarm for 10 minutes. I started to, I heard some voices and stuff. And that was actually my friend Chantel coming from the finish line. Second woman. Whoop, whoop. Shout out. Chantel
Go
Smith
Chantel.
smashed it. So they stopped next to the car. You guys had a chat with her. And then I must have fallen asleep because you actually woke me up. So I was asleep. Probably 3-4 minutes. I was asleep. And then boom. I think you were right. We nearly went to 60% battery.
Honestly,
awesome.
you didn't. And usually you're waking up and you're like feeling groggy and you keep going, and then suddenly here you are, an hour down the road, and it's like you'd had a full night's sleep. Maybe not a full night's sleep, but it was like you were back to like, I'm ready to go. I'm not feeling the depletion. We make it into Perisher checkpoint, and the team has already gone up to Charlotte's Pass. This is the last checkpoint where they wanted to get all the gear that were going to summit with you. All the crew that were going to join you to go to the top had to get all their gear inspected to make sure that all our mandatory gear was correct. So they'd already gone ahead of us. And then they phone in saying, guys, it's hailing up here. And we're like just making it into Perisher, thinking, where are they? They're still up there. Like, we can't leave. It's hailing. What then happens?
So then we got the hail. But how lucky were we? We were in Perisher. 99% of all the runners were not in Perisher.
Right.
They didn't have a house or a roof or anything. We were lucky. So there was one more runner, a lady runner with us and her pacer. And everybody else, they were hiding behind bushes, under trees, behind rocks. There's people who were hunched down and hunched over, and their crew were over them because they were showing us the legs the next day. They were all red from the hail. So we were lucky. It did stop us for a few minutes. I think that was that kilometer I had a look was 28 minutes. So probably 19 or 20 minutes of that was standing still, just because we knew it would pass. And I didn't have my gear on, so I had to wait. But the guys came, so we kept a positive face, and you filmed it, and we had a lot of fun there. It was good because you said, now it's on. The summit is now on because we've now just got the bad weather. Now we can summit. And you were so right. And that put me in such a good. This is, again, people, if you have the right paces, team members, crew, I didn't need picking up. It just lifted me to the next level. I was in a good place, but it just lifted me into the next level where, wow, it's now on. And I so believed that it's going to be on because that bad weather front just passed down the mountain.
and they paused the people summiting. People were on the top getting belted by hail. Once they'd paused it, there was people that were saying we can't let anyone up. It was the chances that they wouldn't open it back up for people to summit again. There was a lot of uncertainties. And one of the things we noticed is like things can come and go very quickly at this altitude. Weather changes quickly. And I think it's important to do it in endurance. It's kind of like being operating at high altitude. Things can change quickly in a long endurance race. Like your body can plummet quickly. Things can also pick up quickly. Like it's amazing what, like you said, what can happen. And as we were sitting there, and it's absolutely bucketing with hail, slushy machine felt like it was pouring down off the roof ahead of us. I was like, you know what? If it's better this happening now than happening later. And this could be the last wild weather front that comes through. And sure enough, perfect timing. Like I jump in the car ahead of you at that point. I swap over. Adam brings you to Charlotte Pass. Perfect timing. As soon as you roll into Charlotte Pass, the final checkpoint, what happens? They make an announcement.
We're on.
The race is people can go summit again. And so without even skipping a beat, you went straight. There were people that were waiting for an hour, 2 hours in their cars, waiting to be allowed to continue to go. And it was just, I guess, one of great fortune for you, and something that I think you say you can't time this any better, right? We start making the ascent. Magical. The pictures and the videos are just amazing. What was it like making that final summit, and take us there on that final 5-6 Ks home?
Just amazing. It's the best thing ever. It's what we trained for, what I trained for, what I visualized, what I really wanted. All the 4 a.m. alarm clocks, and waking half the house up, and all the uncomfortable long runs every weekend, and all the strength work in the gym, and all the mobility in front of the TV, and all the food I had to make sure was the right energy we put in, and 8 weeks of no drop of alcohol. And yeah, it just all came together. It says, okay, this is why we did all this. And then I had the right people around me, positive, having fun. The vibe was just fantastic. I didn't have the energy anymore like you to jump around, but inside of me, I was like what you were doing. So you were actually doing visually what I was.
The personification of what you were thinking.
Absolutely.
And here we get 10 Ks up. The last 5-6 Ks though, we have to traverse very snowy, icy passes just to get around to the top. And I almost felt like there's going to be some cruel twist of fate. This isn't over yet. The drama isn't over yet. As we're like slipping and sliding across in our running shoes. Thankfully, we had poles with us, and there were people that had gone up without poles, and it was still quite precarious. And the wind was just howling a gust. We get to the top, and we still got to make our way back down past, and we're seeing people almost like slip off the side of the mountain, as they're trying to navigate these icy, snowy sections of the trail. In all the beauty and majesty, like here I am FaceTiming my family. Look at this place. Like we're on top of Australia. This is incredible. And the euphoria of being there, you still had to be very, measured in that section and part of, and I could only imagine the people that were summiting in the middle of the night with torches, how careful you still had to be.
Very true. I think, for us, it was good. It was daytime. We all had a lot of energy, positive energy. We believe this is happening. It was just a fantastic vibe. It was just, the best thing. I couldn't have dreamed it any better. And then it's unfair. I had home advantage up there. Being Swiss, I had my little Swiss.
Yes.
Ear warmers on with a little Swiss cross. I'm like, this is okay, although I'm not even a good skier or anything. But yeah, just all these little things, when you go through such a long event, every little positive thing you just add to that little box, and you say, hey, I'm a Swiss boy. This is only snow. It's only ice. I don't need an axe to go straight up vertical. It's like, just be careful. Yes, we had road shoes on. I had brand new shoes on. They have good sole. I never in doubt that this is not going to happen. It was just, and luckily, we have to go back to that nap. That really helped, where I'm like, okay, Because if you can't think straight, you're going to make a mistake or you're going to rush. You hit the nail on the head there. There was no, we didn't need to rush. We still had a lot of running left to do. That things still open up coming down. But going over that snow, we just had to be careful. There's no, if you do you're not going to gain anything.
Yeah.
1 minute is nothing. If you slip, you lose 3 hours, right?
And then we said, release the hounds. Well, you said it's time to release the hounds. We're on the end is in sight, about 5-6 Ks to go. And just take us through what did you do? What was it like crossing that line? Paint a picture for us, Mario.
So we got Dave so Dave was organizing that Sue was at the finish line because the last thing we wanted is her to miss it after being around. So that was very important to me, of course. I just felt we were like, because there was a few people summiting with us because they were in the cars. And I'm like, I am not sharing this finish line with any other runner. I love all these other 67 runners. They're all my friends. And I tip my hat and they're all legends and they're all superstars. But that finish line should belong to each individual, right? It shouldn't be 2 or 3 people finishing at the same time. So I just made the decision and checked in with my legs. And, we were running down a bit. It was a bit steep, so it was a bit hard on the quads. And then as it flattened out a little bit, I heard someone saying, oh, let's just run to the bridge. And I thought to myself, no, we just keep running. Then there's that little incline. And I gave myself another 50 meters to walk. And then I said, now we're off. And then I said, we are not stopping. And then we released Adam to go and get Sue in the car because we never received her SMS back because obviously she did send it, but we didn't receive it. So we just wanted to make sure. So young Adam was allowed to hit a few sub 4 minute Ks to get Sue, but Sue was luckily there at the finish line and it was just the best.
Incredible.
The guys were there and a few other people and runners that just finished and the race directors, of course, Greg and Mickey, huge shout out, great event, embracing us and making sure we get a ribbon, at the end like everyone else does. So just great. Yeah.
And your picture of finishing strong, like running across for all that, I think it was just such a well executed, well planned, and just a testimony to all the hard work that you put in over the year to kind of peak at this event. And I stand in awe again, being up close to see and watch what it takes, all the people involved, the crews that have to stay up all night as well to make sure they're driving, to make sure that you've got to make sure that it all comes together, and then the celebration at the end with everybody the next day, the camaraderie, the spirit amongst the people. I think humility and resilience and community, which is part of their values as a Coast to Kosci community, really shone through. Just something that I'll never forget. It kind of put a thought into me that one day, certainly not next year or anytime too soon, I wouldn't mind being part of this community of people to complete a Coast to Kosci. It's a special event, and thanks for taking us inside and the Coast to Kosci according to Mario Buchs. Just quickly as we round things out, you're feeling good now. The recovery's fine. What's on the horizon?
Oh, I think I'd like to keep this fitness in a way. Look after myself, get through Christmas and stuff, and allowing myself to just drop a little bit things, but. And I'm back in the gym. I've already done 3 sessions this week just to see how much we can lift. And it's a good way to find out where we're at, No big plan or no big event next year. Waiting for Western States lottery to happen next weekend. I'm actually in coach mode at the moment, which is nice. I can just focus. I always focus on my runners, but more.
There's people now, as we're talking, competing in the
Kosci 100 and the Kosci Mile.
Kosci 100. So that's happening now.
Correct.
Exciting.
So my focus is on that. The good thing is I've already got 2 races next year planned. So one's Coast to Kosci, 6 foot, and then later in the year I got into Sydney Marathon, so something a little bit shorter. And then I'll plan it out January, February. We'll see if there's something big. My dream race 2027 would probably be Badwater. I'll make this quite public here. Badwater
Oh, he
135.
just dropped it. Bad water. Here we go.
Don't tell the wife. Yeah, it's just a dream of mine
I hope
to.
she doesn't listen to our podcast.
You never know. She might be our biggest fan. You know.
Yeah.
I think just something that really excites me.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll say it too. I got inspired this after just crewing with you and getting back. I was very, I guess, a bit not motivated to be running much, and then the just being a part of the community and being out and about doing it really inspired me. And so I'm looking at doing my own I'm looking at signing up for the Gold Coast Backyard Ultra. Try
Yes.
that format. So we'll see how we go with that. So made it public now. We're going to have to do something about it. But cheers to everybody out there that is signing up, running, going for their next challenge. Hopefully this kind of stuff's helped you. Again, I think all of this stuff in running, it applies to so many other aspects of your life. The importance of having a team, the importance of having a crew. And I think if there was a 1%er we could pull out of today, what do you think that 1% change difference? I think for me, I would say it's this power just to keep moving. It's power of just make progress no matter what you're going. If you just make that small decision to, I might need to pause, but it's going to pause to intentionally do something, not to pause to feel sorry for myself. I can feel sorry for myself as I'm moving and making progress. That's okay. But if you stop, feel sorry for yourself, and you don't decide not to make any progress whatsoever, then you're going to get stuck. So that would be, for me, I don't know what you felt, Mario, would be your kind of views.
The two things. One, totally underline what you're saying. You're not at work. Someone might upset you or something. You read an email and you comes across not, you say, okay, you can dwell on that, right? Or you can pick the phone up and move forward together and say, how about we just discuss this, mutually agree, and we move forward. So this is the easy trick to do. Let's always move forward in projects at work. If we dwell on it and feel sorry for ourselves, it's exactly the same. It'll hurt a lot more in a week because we've not done anything and we're still angry. What I take off a weekend like this is going back into normal working life. The confidence that gives us finishing something like this together as a team is that extra little 1% at the end, where you go back to work, let's say Tuesday, probably because we all went home on Monday. You approach things in a completely different light. You see things in a completely different light. That's very important. It's clearer. Problems are still problems, but they're clearer, more easier to understand. Say, okay. And you have a solution because you've just extended your toolbox over the weekend, your mental toolbox. And those tools can be used in everyday life as well. So, dear audience, people, don't forget, you can talk to us about all these things, how we navigate through difficult things. It's important to have a team that helps one another. And we discussed this on the Iraq podcast. Everybody steps back 10%. The added value to the project is immense, priceless, really. So we're never on our
Fantastic. Own. Absolutely. Well, great job, Mario. Congratulations.
Thank you,
once again.
Tim.
All righty. Well, we'll see you again, hopefully, for another episode of The 1%ers. Until then, peace out.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The 1%ers podcast. That's a wrap for another episode. And we're proud to be recording from Australia on Kombumerri and Gadigal country. And we honour the traditions and knowledge of the First Nations people and pay our respects to elders, past and present. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We want to hear from you, your questions or topics you would like us to cover, and you can easily do that in the Spotify app. And for those of you that are ready to discover your peak performance edge today, just head on over to our website. That is top.coach. That's TOPP.coach. And start unlocking your unlimited potential with us today. We would love to work with you. And that's it for now. Until next time, what are you waiting for?